the Martin family. Kenneth Martin, his wife Barbara, and 3 daughters Barbie, Susan, and Virginia lived in Portland, Oregon. Their oldest son Donald was in the Navy and stationed in New York at the time. On December 7, 1958, Kenneth and Barbara left their home with their 3 daughters in their 1954 Ford station wagon for a drive up the Columbia River Gorge. They had planned to gather greenery to make Christmas wreaths and decorations. Around 4 p.m., they purchased 5 gallons of gasoline in Cascade Locks. The family was seen again shortly after leaving a restaurant in Hood River, Oregon, which was approximately 20 miles east of Cascade Locks. Some people reported seeing them on the north bank of the Columbia River in Washington state at the onset of dusk. This was the last time they were seen alive. 2 days later, when Kenneth did not arrive at work, the family was reported missing. The police searched their residence and did not find anything out of place. Everything in the house was undisturbed. The dishes from the previous day were draining in the sink, and a load of laundry was still in the washing machine. They had also left behind a substantial amount of money in their bank accounts. Multnomah County and Hood River County Police searched for clues aided by multitudes of volunteers, but neither were able to produce any leads. On the day of the Martins' disappearance, a stolen white Chevrolet registered in Venice, Los Angeles was found in Cascade Locks but was quickly dismissed by police as it did not match Martin's vehicle. Near the car, in the bushes, they also found a blood-stained gun. The gun was later linked to Martin's oldest son Donald. Donald had been accused of stealing several sporting goods items, including the gun, while working at Meyer and Frank department store 2 years prior. However, the gun was never processed for evidence. On December 8, an ex-convict, Roy Light, and another unnamed man were arrested for car theft in Hood River County in connection with the abandoned Chevrolet. A waiter at the Hood River restaurant stated that both the men were in the restaurant at the same time when Martins were in the restaurant, and both men left at the same time Martins left. However, both men denied knowing Martins, and police did not find any evidence to link them to their disappearance. On December 28, 1958, a woman's gloves were discovered near the site of the abandoned Chevrolet, which some stated was similar to a glove Barbara Martin wore. However, it could not positively be identified as belonging to her. In February 1959, a volunteer searcher found the tire tracks leading off a cliff near the Dalles, Oregon, which reportedly matched the tire tracks on Martin's Ford. Paint chips found at the scene were sent to FBI for analysis, and it was determined to be the same paint used to make the model of Martin's Ford. In May of that year, a river drilling rig near the area where the tire tracks were discovered hooked something heavy and metal on its anchor, but the item broke free before it could be pulled up. A couple of days later, Susan and Virginia's body were found downstream near Bonneville Dam. Their identities were confirmed via dental records. During autopsies, one of the technicians who took fingerprints said he believed there were bullet holes in the heads of each girl's bodies. However, the medical examiner found no such injuries, and the cause of death was ruled drowning. It was suspected that the drilling rig had overturned Martin's car in the river and dislodged one of the doors, allowing the bodies of Susan and Virginia to escape and surface downstream. An attempt was made to search the water for additional evidence, but the search was called off when a diver nearly died. Police believe the Martin family may have accidentally drowned after driving into the river, or possibly they were abducted and were inside the car as it was pushed off the cliff. The bodies of Kenneth, Barbara, and Barbie were never found. No further searches had been made, and the case has been closed, but foul play is suspected in their disappearance. The Burhans-Garcia family. 40-year-old Carmen Burhans Garcia, her second husband Diego Garcia, and her daughter Barbara Burhans lived in Glassell Park area in Los Angeles, California. On March 15, 1982, the family left their home and were never seen again. They were last seen by Carmen's mother, who lived upstairs in the same building. Carmen's mother had breakfast with them and noted that Carmen was crying, but she never asked her why. Around noon, the trio left their home in their brown 1977 Toyota Corolla. They had not taken anything with them. They left behind luggage, clothes in the closet, dog food in the refrigerator, and the dog itself. According to Carmen's mother, everything in the house looked untouched. On April 25, 1982, the Corolla was found abandoned in snowbank 500 feet down a gorge in the San Gabriel Mountains near Big Pines, California. The car was buried in 5 feet of snow and the top of the car was crushed in. Despite having fallen 500 feet and being destroyed, there were no bodies or blood in the car. The only road from which the car could have fallen off was closed since March 16th, the day after Garcia family vanished. It is believed the empty car was manually pushed off a cliff by someone who was trying to conceal it, or that it was pushed off by a snowplow whose driver was oblivious to the abandoned car. Several theories have been put forward in their disappearance. Some stated that there were rumors that Carmen and Barbara, who were recent converts to Mormonism, were involved with a very different religion prior to their disappearance and may have been involved in sacrificing a chicken. It was suggested that they were kidnapped or killed by the cult. However, this was never confirmed, while others suggested that the trio disappeared to get away from drug or gambling issues. Although there were reported sightings of Carmen after her disappearance, none were confirmed. There have been no evidence of any of their whereabouts since March 1982, and all of them remain missing to this day. The Thompson family. Everett and Lydia Thompson lived with their children Andrew and Everett Jr. in the 8100 block of South Rhodes Avenue. Everett was the owner of the Eat & Company restaurant in the Park Manor neighborhood of the city. The family was living in a house that was passed down to Lydia and her two siblings by her father. Each of the siblings held 1/3 of the property. In February 1996, Lydia's brother Kenneth White moved into the family home after being released from prison on rape charges. The Thompson family was unhappy about Kenneth's presence in the house and referred to him as a freeloading house guest. 4 months after Kenneth moved in, on July 3rd, Lydia called 911 reporting that Kenneth had threatened to kill her with an axe. But once police arrived at the house, the dispute had already died down. On July 5th, Everett's father, Herman, phoned Everett at the restaurant, asking when they were going to come and visit. While he was on the call, Lydia called Everett in a panic, begging Everett to come home. She said that Kenneth was chasing her with an axe around the house, and she had locked herself in the bedroom. Both their kids, Everett Jr. and Andrew, were also at the home. Everett ended the call with his father and left the restaurant. This was the last time any of the family members were seen alive. 2 hours later, Kenneth drove to Eat & Company driving Everett's van. He told the employees that Everett was in a car accident and then arrested. The manager on duty noticed that Kenneth was wearing brand new white sneakers and there were red smears on them. 12 days later, on July 17, 1996, Everett's family reported him missing when they were unable to contact him, his wife Lydia, or either of the 2 children. The police went to the Thompson home and questioned Kenneth about the family's whereabouts. He told the officers that the family was fine and they had taken an impromptu vacation to Philadelphia to visit Everett's family. Since the family's van was missing from the house, they believed Kenneth's story and did not investigate further. Over the next few weeks, Kenneth would tell various stories about the Thompson family, claiming that they took a bus to Philadelphia or went to Minneapolis or that they went to Hawaii. After the family's disappearance, Kenneth was indicted for falsifying Lydia's signature on a check. At the time of his arrest, he had been driving Thompson's van, but apparently police did not realize this contradicted Kenneth's earlier story. In July, Everett's parents traveled to Chicago to search for the family themselves, but to no avail. They then asked police to investigate further. The police asked restaurant manager at the Eat-In Company about the day of the disappearance. He told the police that on that day, Kenneth had told him that Everett was arrested after an accident. However, when police checked the records, they could not find any record of the arrest or the accident. Police later found that Kenneth had forged Lydia's and his other sister's signature on documents to sell the family house. An inspector went to the house and made note that one bathtub and one toilet had recently been painted red and the kitchen flooring had been removed. These changes had been made sometime after the police visited the house on July 3rd, as police noted that the kitchen floor was fine and there were no red fixtures in the house at the time. Police did not find out about the illegal sale of the house until the new homeowners had already moved in and had the house gutted for renovation, destroying any evidence left behind of the Thompsons' disappearance. Kenneth was interrogated several times, but there was never probable cause of arrest. Kenneth eventually moved to a trailer in Gary, Indiana. In July 1997, the FBI searched his trailer and found a pair of men's gym shoes and a boy's sock, both stained in blood. However, it was never released whose blood it was. In November 1997, Kenneth was arrested due to failure to register as a sex offender. He was eventually released, but was again arrested for forging Lydia's signature on a check. In December of 1997, Kenneth committed suicide while in jail. Kenneth made no statements regarding the Thompson family's disappearance before his death. Investigators believe Kenneth probably murdered Thompsons, but they never found enough evidence to charge him, and despite many searches, they have been unable to find the family's remains. The Solomon family. Saul Solomon resided in Northridge, California with his wife, Elaine Solomon, their daughter Michelle Houchman, and their son Mitchell Solomon. The family had immigrated to the United States from Israel. Saul ran a small business, which involved a repair and refilling of fire extinguishers, and due to some savvy real estate investments, he and his family lived quite comfortably. Saul owned a few exotic cars and had quite a bit of money. On October 14, 1982, the Solomons' neighbors called police after being unable to contact them to tell them that their pool was overflowing. When police visited their home, the Solomons weren't there. Police discovered some splatters of blood in one of the rooms of the residence. A piece of carpet had been removed from the floor and covered with a bathroom rug. But nothing was stolen. Valuable items such as jewelry, electronics, $2,500 in cash, and a Rolls-Royce were all left behind. It did not appear to be a robbery. 5 days after their disappearance, on October 17, 1982, the family's passports, wallets, and photos were discovered scattered along the Antelope Valley Freeway near Acton, California. There were some rumors that Saul was involved with the Israeli mafia, but family members denied this. A year later, police received a lead that Saul had a fight with a business associate. It was found that Saul was last seen with Harvey Rader, a British citizen, during the day on October 12, 1982. Rader owned Mr. Motors of London, a car dealership in Reseda, California at the time. Saul had invested $20,000 into Rader's business during that year. Police questioned Rader, and he said that on 12 October, he and Saul had attended a car show and arrived together in Saul's van. Afterward, Saul asked Rader to drop him off at an Israeli restaurant. Rader then drove Saul's van back to his house, where Eileen gave Rader the keys to the Mercedes and he drove to his garage for some repair work. The Solomons' Mercedes was found at the Rader's garage. Rader denied any knowledge of what happened to the family. However, in November 1983, Ashley Paul, a cab driver from London, England, and Rader's cousin, claimed that he witnessed Rader shoot Saul on October 12, 1982, after Saul demanded repayment of $20,000 he had invested. Paul said that he and Rader buried Saul and the other family members in the desert near Acton, where their personal belongings were discovered after their disappearance. Elaine, Michelle and Mitchell were murdered because they knew Saul was with Rader on the day he was reportedly killed. Investigators conducted extensive searches in the area throughout the years, but no evidence relating to the case were uncovered. Paul also said that Rader had also been tied to another mysterious disappearance of Peter Davis and his wife Joan, but was never charged with the crime. The couple's case remains unsolved, but officials believe that Rader may have killed them after a business-related dispute. Rader was charged and arrested for the Solomons murders in 1988, despite having no bodies or much concrete evidence. The charges resulted in 2 mistrials of Rader before he was acquitted of all charges in 1992 by the jury. The Solomons family has never been located and their case remains unsolved.